Not that one. This one.
China.
That's right. A little bit of news here. We were talking about the connections with the Ukraine, the narrative of the Ukraine conflict and how that fits into Taiwan. And it only took them a couple days, again, Guns, to answer all of our questions.
Yeah, thank
CBS
you so much.
News. I know. They're so nice to us. They make our job so easy. CBSNews.com. Biden says U.S. would intervene militarily if China invades Taiwan.
Ooh,
oh, no.
Yikes.
Ooh, that's a big thing. Tokyo. President Biden said Monday the U.S. would intervene militarily if China were to invade Taiwan, in one of the most forceful and overt statements of American government support for Taiwan in decades. Mr. Biden said the burden to protect the self-ruled island was, quote, even stronger after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Speaking at a joint news conference in Tokyo with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, Mr. Biden was asked by CBS News correspondent Nancy Cordes. Now, this is something to pay attention to, because you'll see in a second. This, what is about to be quoted, is being reported all over by all sorts of outlets, especially mainstream outlets. But it was a CBS correspondent who asked the question, and this is the CBS outlet. So if it's a CBS correspondent asking the question, she is asking the question for CBS, and everybody else just kind of gets the glom on and report on it. But Nancy Cordes here is asking the question specifically to be able to report on it in CBS. And you'll see why that's important. Quote, this is the question. Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that? He replied simply, yes. Cordes followed up by asking, you are? Good journalism. You are? Quote, that's the commitment we made, Mr. Biden said. Quote, we agree with a one China policy. We signed onto it and all the attendant agreements made from there. But the idea that Taiwan, could be taken by force, just taken by force. It's just not appropriate. It'll dislocate the entire region. It'll dislocate the region.
Dislocate?
It'll teleport the island.
Oh my gosh.
Like in Lost.
The island is going to break apart like a knee that's being broken on a football field.
Exactly. The island will move. It'll dislocate the entire region and be another action similar to what happened in Ukraine. And so
you made the connection. Had a boy Biden. There you go.
He's doing it for us.
All right, good job.
And so it's a burden that is even stronger. Okay, so it's even more of a burden because Ukraine is being attacked. Okay, all right. We have to go against our agreement with China because Russia is invading Ukraine. The president then said U.S., quote, policy towards Taiwan has not changed at all, stressing his government's commitment to, quote, the peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait and ensuring that there's no unilateral change to the status quo. Mr. Biden said it was his expectation that China would not try to seize control of Taiwan by force, but he added that, quote, a lot of it depends upon just how strong the world makes clear that that kind of action is going to result in long-term disapprobation by the rest of the international community. The president said Beijing was, quote, flirting with danger sounds like the name of my first rap album. The president said Beijing was flirting with danger with recent with Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin this morning. Quote, "No one should underestimate the firm resolve, staunch will, and strong ability of the Chinese people in defending national sovereignty and territorial integrity," according to French news agency AFP. It is the second time in a year, and it goes on. And so for those who just need a refresher, China claims to own Taiwan. Taiwan claims to be independent. The U.S. has the one China policy where we agree that China is all ruled by China, and we just kind of don't talk about Taiwan. However, Taiwan makes 50% of the semiconductors for the entire world, and so is a very valuable asset for the U.S. to have control of. Now, the CBS correspondent asked straight out, here it is. Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that? Biden saying yes. Now, if you look at other outlets reporting on this exact same question and the exact same quote, they all, for the most part, they all use those words. Biden is willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan. However, CBS, the outlet that set up the question in the first place, creates a headline that does not even match the quote. It says Biden says U.S. would intervene militarily if China invades Taiwan, giving the impression that we are planning on getting involved militarily if something happens. When the actual quote was, we'd be willing to. Now, is that a significant difference? I don't know. We all know that the U.S. will get involved militarily if China tries to invade Taiwan, because it's a financial move for the U.S. And I'm sure we would, if nothing else, do the exact same thing we're doing to Ukraine, which is send them billions and billions and billions of dollars to help defend themselves, including weapons and things like that. So, but for us to actually have American boots on the ground or ships in the sea would be an entirely different situation. That is direct war with China. And Biden, by his own words, is willing to go to direct war with China to protect Taiwan. So Taiwan must be a pretty important place, the whole Biden there.
Yeah, I'm not really, I don't think he's going to necessarily deploy military right from the get-go.
It would be a pretty bold move.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Plus, I think if this happens, or when this happens, China's going to move very quickly. I don't think the U.S. is going to even have time to respond.
Well,
that's my
remember,
opinion.
Yeah, remember when we were reporting on his visit to South Korea, he was committing, and not in context of China, but he was committing in the context of North Korea and their missile test, to send in, to basically fill the zone, to flood the zone with the Navy starting off, carriers, ships, blockades, things like that. And we were wondering, why this is so stupid. Why is he taking such a strange and firm, commitment towards North Korea? I think that the whole North Korea thing was an excuse to get assets in the region, not because of North Korea, but because of Taiwan.
Yeah, because of Taiwan, for sure.
Because now he can say, oh, we deployed a ton of ships and planes and carriers right next to you, China, but it's not about you and Taiwan. This is about North Korea.
Well, and his visit to Japan is interesting because Japan has been ramping up their military in the last few years, much to the disdain of the younger generation who think, no, we're not going to do that again, as post-World War II. But, I can see them being deployed, before the U.S. actually does anything, because they're so close geographically. They're kind of nearby. So,
well, and that's actually a good point. Later on in this article, it's kind of a breakdown of a lot of stuff that Biden said in Japan, but it does end with this. Japan's Kishida said Mr. Biden supports Japan becoming a permanent member of a reformed UN Security Council as calls grow for such reform. If approved by the world body, Japan would join the U.S., Britain, China, France, Russia, and the U.S. as permanent members. This would equip Japan with the justification to remilitarize and more specifically to sort of put them under control of the U.S. because, of course, the U.S. controls the Security Council. And so that would be a way that Japan could sort of be remilitarized and deployed specifically to protect U.S. interests in Taiwan.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
I'm not
unfortunate.
I hesitate to believe anything Biden says. A lot of times you just gotta,
his own people don't believe him.
Right. And let me just do this real quick because it's fun. Just to sort of pay attention to what happens, not just what politicians say. There's a screenshot here of the chart, the US dollar against the Russian ruble. And you see, kind of bouncing around throughout 2022 at the early months there. And then in March...
You're showing a Forex chart here.
Yeah.
For those who are just listening.
It's a chart of the U.S. dollar against the Russian ruble. And, of course, in March, right when after the war started in Ukraine, you see the U.S. dollar go way up in value against the ruble. And in that peak... President Biden tweeted out at POTUS, by the way, not his personal. This is at POTUS. He said, we are enforcing an enormous package of economic sanctions that has caused the Russian economy to crater. The Russian ruble is down almost 50% since Putin announced his war. It is now worth less than 1 American penny. Since that time, remember Russia pegged their ruble to gold and they had their move.
Yeah,
the dollar has moved well below. I mean, it has crashed below
down
where it was
and
before.
down and down and down. Yeah.
Yep, against the ruble. So, okay, great, Biden. You did this thing with the sanctions, but it caused more weakness of the dollar against the ruble.
The day he brags about it, the dollar starts plummeting.
It starts plummeting, yeah. So in that sense, I don't believe anything he's saying in terms of, of course we'll intervene militarily. But when push comes to shove, I don't think they're going to do much.
I think they'll have Japan do it.
They'll let Japan do it, or South Korea, or some alliance there, or something. I don't know, but we'll
he says.
Yeah. You are privileged.
You go ahead, Japan. Yes, please secure our own military interests. We'll let you do that. Yeah. Well, it's all setting up. Honestly, so besides the Japan angle, it's all setting up almost exactly how we predicted, which is fun. So